This video is sponsored by 21 Draw. In a recent video, I drew with 21 pens at once. Or did I? I didn't. It was all an elaborate skit. Based on how many views that video got, I would do legitimately multiple pens at once drawing. Now I have a concern because I said for every million views, it would be an additional pen. So for 1 million views, that's 2 pens. For 2 million views, that's 3 pens. 3 million views, that's 4 pens. You hit 3 million views. So I'm gonna start off with 1, then I'm gonna do 2 and 3, and then finish off with 4. Now I have a little reference here. See if you can guess in the comments who it is before it's revealed. All right, I'm drawing a character whose original conception was actually a bald telepathic supervillain. This is a fictional character. He's not hungry, ever. A bit of trivia there for you. This hero doesn't need to eat, also doesn't need to breathe, actually. And what's a hero without an enemy? And the earliest version of this hero's nemesis was a telepathic ape. I'm trying to throw you off with the trivia here because I feel like it's so obvious who you would guess, and there's no reasonable way to provide clues without giving it away straight away. But I will say that his original idea of being a telepathic bald supervillain ends up being the supervillain in his story by the name of Lex Luthor. That's right, you guessed it, or you didn't. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Did you get it? It's Superman! Now, the honest truth is, drawing like a printer isn't the hardest thing in the world. The biggest challenge of it, well, there's two really. One is proportions, and if you take it slow and steady and use a reference, you can get it. The other is the row length and consistency. So you can see that at the start, I started with pretty short rows, which works well for detailed areas, and also for the most draw like a printer effect when you speed it up later. But I'm an impatient fella, and that's why I find this challenging, because, you know, usually a third or halfway through the piece, my rows start getting bigger, and then in the last quarter, well, you'll see. They're not really like printer rows, more just like, you know, chunks of the picture. Thematically appropriate because I drew the ultimate person with 1 pen, but I thought I could follow this theme. I'm gonna do the ultimate duo with 2 pens. But to do the 2 pen thing last time, I created a contraption that basically was just a long rod that had 2 holes in it that the pens go in. Now, the alignment of these pens, or these holes, has to be basically the same as the 2 left corners of 2 pages next to each other, so that the pens are always at the same position at any point on the page. Now, this was really straightforward. Where we get to 3 and 4 is gonna be difficult, but I've already invented one for 2 because I've used it a couple of times in the last video, so let's go cut a couple more. This duo featured in a movie that was accidentally deleted and was only salvaged because one of the animators who was working from home during their, I think it was their maternity leave, happened to have a replica of the entire server's animation on her home computer, or at least up to, you know, a couple of weeks before. So what became one of the most beloved animated franchises of all time was almost accidentally completely lost. Just really interesting tidbit. It is, of course, Toy Story, and I'm drawing Woody and Buzz. Now this one's turning out pretty good too. I fall into the same pattern of the, you know, the rows get bigger later on, but at least for the start and the more detailed sections, pretty much, you know, pretty narrow, and it works out pretty well. I have no idea how I'm gonna hold up past this one. 3 and 4 are gonna be a real challenge, but we'll get to that later. For now, I'm really quite happy with how this one's turning out. It's not fun. This is not something I would opt in to do if it weren't something you guys bloody well love to see. So let's see this through to the end. And this is only just the beginning. Woody and Buzz adequately represented through this ridiculously stupid way of drawing. It's so difficult and really uncomfortable. Let's do it again. To do 3, I'm gonna have to invent something. For those of you who watched the video that this is a sequel to, you'll remember I made this thing to hold 21 pens to draw all at once in that beautifully epic montage we put together. The reality is this was never gonna work. Allow me to demonstrate. With 3, I could get by having the middle one a little lower than the right and left, then I tilt to the left and I'm only drawing with the left one, then I tilt to the right and I'm only drawing with the right one. It's finicky, but it's doable, but only with 3. But it's too difficult with it so close on the same axis. So I think I'm gonna have to create a new contraption which splits the middle one further away so I can pivot with a little more extremity to have a lot more control. This is stupid because we're doing things the way things are not meant to be done. Clever people do things the way they are meant to be done. Which is why I'm proud this video is sponsored by 21 Draw. Those of you who watched the last video remember I promoted their Volume 2 of the Illustrator's Guidebook. Volume 1 was one I participated in, but that's not what I'm sharing with you today. What I'm sharing with you is their online resources and subscription. They work with famous artists from Disney, Marvel, and DreamWorks, etc., with drawing guides and videos to take you from a beginner to being more advanced and professional. And the online courses complement the book. So if you have a subscription, you can dive even deeper. One of the cool ways they do this is in their physical books, they actually have QR codes. Scan the QR code and it'll take you to their website. Oh, and there we go.
Hello everybody, my name is Rodrigo Gonzalez.
How cool is that? Like a personal, immediate connection with the illustrators and authors who have amazingly professional backgrounds and careers that you can follow along with to learn how to draw like a pro. And you don't have to just take it from me, you can take it from their happy customers.
This course is really complete.
Really helpful for beginners who want to create interesting
This is the first course I've taken on 21 Draw, and I'm very impressed.
I really had to stop one of the videos to make a good review of
I
this
highly
course.
recommend for everyone.
You can join 21 Draw. They have a monthly or a yearly subscription option available, and they are giving a special offer just for you guys. It is only available for a limited time, so go click on it. And a huge thank you to 21 Draw for sponsoring this video and making awesome resources. You guys are gonna love it. Go check it out. But what I'm not going to love is doing the next one with 3. But before we do that, I need to investigate how other people do this stuff and how I can make the next contraption. So this is just electrical tape and 2 sticks. How do you control the height of the pen though from the stick? The giveaway for the rocking thing, like it looks like it's all 3 drawing at once, but the giveaway is actually the swing. As I go through, you can see the side pens, if it's drawing in the middle, are sort of moving forwards and backwards quite a bit. And that happens in my footage. In fact, if we go back to the drawing with 2 pens at once, whichever one I'm not drawing with tends to move a little more wildly, which is fine, but it's just sort of an indicator that you're really drawing with 1 pen at a time in different places. I'm gonna make some prototypes before I do my funky laser cutting. So the tricky thing is gonna be the height of this one in the middle so that we can rock back and forth on the side to side ones. He's doing the same thing, 3 pens at once. He's not doing it like a printer though. He's doing it wherever he bloody well likes. I mean, it's pretty cool. He's got the same contraption though, which I think needs improving upon. Let's just draw a little smiley face in the middle. Now just draw a smiley face on the left side. Oh, it's pretty uncomfortable to hold, gotta be honest. Look, there's no way around it. This is gonna be incredibly uncomfortable. I'm gonna hate every second. So far I've been thinking linearly, like a line of pens. Imagine with me if we had a design where the center of motion and weight distribution were centered to the hand, but realistically, we spread out like this. We had 1, 2, 3. Now, if we did that, way of holding it would be from the center. Maybe if it were like that, maybe if I created a 3-winged propeller that I held in the center. About to get heated in here. 3 pens at once. Now we've established at this point that it's not really at once, it's kind of one at a time in rapid succession and over a long enough time period that when it's squeezed together, it looks like they're all drawn at once. So having broken that illusion down, it's also worth mentioning that while I've drawn like a printer so far in this video, all of the videos where I see people draw with 3 or more pens at once, I don't see this draw like a printer thing happening. They're just drawing pictures. And thank goodness, because I don't think I can continue to adhere to that standard. I mean, it's gonna be pretty difficult as it is. But without any further ado, 3 pens at once. Let me think, the ultimate team of 3. I've got it. Now, how does drawing with 3 pens differ from drawing with 2? Well, honestly, 2 was reasonably easy compared to this. With 2, there were only 2 things to look at once and in one axis. They were just side by side. With 3, not only is it dividing my attention further, which makes it even harder, not even just by 1 multiplier, but it feels significantly harder. The extra spread of the pens means that I'm more accurate with some and less with others. In fact, the bottom right pen, the one sort of sided behind where my sort of wrist always ends up going, is really hard to draw with. It's super, super difficult to get any sort of shading or any sort of accurate pen work here. And I'm sure you can see by now, the ultimate team of 3 is Shrek, Fiona, and Donkey from, well, Shrek. I don't know if you agree with me, so feel free to let me know in the comments if you would have picked another group of 3. For now, I'm actually pretty happy with how my team of 3s turned out. The results are getting less and less polished, I'm gonna be honest. They're much more scribbly, and when I did the draw like a printer thing, obviously it ends up looking a lot neater, but I am so glad I didn't do this drawing as a printer, because oh my God, I can't even, like it was hard enough just with 3. But yeah, no, not a fan of doing this, so let's do it again with more. I'll tell you what, I'll opt in for even more pain. If this video gets, I'm gonna say 250,000 likes. I think that's a lofty goal. 250,000 likes, and I'll do 5 pens at once. And I'll let you pick what I draw. Let me know in the comments. Let's do our research and see how 4 is gonna work and make a thing to do 4. Now, someone has already done this. This is the same person that we last watched the video who did 3. This is the same contraption, except obviously it's extended beyond this to have 1 more. And I think that's pretty doable. The way by necessity that would have to work is, and I'm just gonna amplify this so it's clearer. The height difference between all of these, in fact, this would have to be a height difference too, would have to be amplified enough that one of them would be lower than all of them, and then you could tilt to draw on any of them. So basically like this one has to be lower than this 2 and this 2 on that axis. This one has to be lower than this one and this one on that axis. And then otherwise the outside ones, you're pretty well safe because you can just tip the whole thing in one direction. So if I actually drew with 21 pens at once, it would have to follow the same rule where every pen that I could feasibly draw with has to have a lower point than the 2 and all of the other ones by their side. So if I actually drew with 21 at once, it would have to be a contraption that looked more like this. And then I could anchor on this one, then this one, then this one. But by the time you're drawing with this and it's flat to the page without hitting the other pen, you can see how far the other pens end up having to be from the page. In fact, I believe the same person does 5 at once, and look at that. It's even more amplified. It's the exact same thing that I just pointed out, but you can see for him to draw with this pen, the other pen is a foot off the page. I think the best way to draw with 4 pens at once is actually quite simple. Hand holding in the middle with an even weight distribution and pivot point. All of the pens can actually have the same distance to the page, because if I'm resting this end down on the page, I only need to have these points lifted by a centimeter or so, and then this point is lifted by 2 centimeters automatically. It's a lot less motion and pivoting. All of the pens are closer to my hand, and I should be able to draw relatively comfortably, given the stupidness of this challenge, with 4 pens at once. Let's invent a contraption. This is it, people. It's game time. This is what you all clicked for. 4 at once. Let's see if I can keep up the pace. As before, leave your guess as to what the team of 4 is, and I'm gonna give you a clue. It's not a team of 4, it's 4 people from a bigger team, because I'm gonna be honest, I can't think of a team of 4 worthy of being drawn like this. I mean, what could we come up with? There's like the A team, which no one knows, but I was tempted to do because of the IT crowd quote of the team. Team. There's of course the Fantastic Four, which is one of the first things that comes to mind, but it doesn't feel particularly relevant or exciting. So I sort of got a bit stumped here. I'm sure you can sort of guess by now who I've started to draw and what team they're from, but you know what? Let me know in the comments if you can think of a better team of 4, if there is the ultimate team of 4. But for now, I've picked my choice of the ultimate Avengers from the Avengers. So far, so good, but I'm gonna be honest, this is not comfortable and it's not fun. I did it. It's done. 1, I want to get your thoughts as to which one is your favorite. Obviously, number 1 is the most refined, most polished outcome I'm really happy with. 2, I think is really impressive. It's pretty polished. It's not as polished as number 1, but it's still good enough that it feels and looks polished. Then we start to get a little messier with number 3. They're pretty scribbly, but to be honest, I feel like there's a bit of a charm to that. They feel like, I mean, I think the most important thing to me is I got the proportions right, so the characters feel like the characters. That's pretty hard to do, and I'm really proud of the result there. Last and certainly not least, the 4 characters drawn at once. Same deal here, there's a clear trend, much more scribbly, but I feel pretty accurate for the characters. Let me know down in the comments which you think comes out on top. This wall is very intensely red. Oh, you know what else is intensely red? The subscribe button. All right, I'll change it. Wait, I said it's intensely red, but I didn't tell you to click it. I probably should tell you to click it. Click the subscribe button. There you go. Now I'm gonna change the color. That's so much more calming. Thank you so much for supporting the other video to the degree that I was pushed this far. So cool that you guys were into that, and I really hope you were into how I tackled this challenge. Let's see if you can challenge me enough to tackle the next step.
Goodbye, civilian.
Howdy, goodbye, partner.
To infinity and beyond.
I hope you live happily ever after.
Donkey!
And I am also saying goodbye.
Farewell from Asgard.
And your friendly neighborhood YouTuber.